Welcome back to the Quiet On Set podcast powered by Cineman. I'm Ewan Gruff, and as always, I am joined by Lachlan Teely.
Hello all. On this week's episode, it is D23 or D23. You can read it two different ways. That was last week, so they had plenty of trailers released. In fact, more trailers than actual people who were there. So this week, we'll be discussing those trailers.
And then Lachlan and I caught up with the first half of the billion-dollar venture over on Prime Video, and we watched Lord of the Rings of Power, and then we got a whole bunch of other trailers from the likes of Spielberg and Damien Chazelle with Babylon and the Fablemans.
Finally, our main conversational piece this week is Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. A24's Gen Z whodunit satire film starring some of the latest up-and-coming actors and actresses.
So let's cue up the intro and get into the show.
We are professionals.
This is a professional podcast.
Yes.
Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Hello there. Which actually,
Did you
this
get
is gonna
me a
be
hat
a
as
bit,
well?
Yes.
So I've got Dooncam. It's just a camera with my Dune steelbook.
All right, welcome back, Lachlan. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
Yeah, not bad,
Is
man.
everything all right with you? Today we're talking about a Gen Z film, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. And yesterday I had a moment. I don't know if you ever get this, because we are in our 20s now. And have you ever gotten that moment where you feel like really old?
No, because I would probably identify as Gen Z.
Well, yeah, I'm the oldest Gen Z, like as old as they get. But I had a run-in yesterday. I was working a shift at the theater, and then a bunch of kids were making really loud noises outside, and I was the old guy who called the police on them. So
You called the
I
police
think I got no
on a bunch
excuses.
of kids?
The justification maybe is there because they were so loud they could hear it in our theater, like inside the actual screenings. So I had to do
I
something,
don't know
and
who
they
you are,
were
man.
like,
I would be the kid who's making the loud sounds outside. How dare you?
yeah, they had a megaphone and they were just screaming. So that was quite an experience, and it did make me feel old. Additionally, I got some other news as well, Lachlan. I became a father.
What?
Yes, of two kittens.
What? Oh,
Of two
kittens.
two
Okay.
little kittens.
I was
yes.
going to say, you hit
And-
that very well from me.
Yes.
Like, you're one of my
Just
best
off
friends,
frame
and
handing
somehow
a
you've
baby.
hidden the fact that you're a father. Jeez, okay. Kittens, really?
Yeah, kitten
And
dad.
kittens as
Yeah.
in multiple?
Yes, I got two, and
Oh.
I named them as well already. People can still maybe I'll show some pictures of throw them up right here, but yeah, people can still chime in with possible names, but I'm pretty set on having them a bit of a Ghibli reference overall, because I've been set on naming my cat Gigi for a long time, and I've had an older cat that he's now 7, where it would have perfectly fit. They look like the same, but now I just went with Gigi for the male cat, and I was struggling to come up with a name for the female one, and they're brothers and sisters. And I thought, well, why not stick with Kiki's delivery service and just call that one Kiki? So I got Kiki and Gigi.
Gigi
Roaming
and
around,
Kiki.
roaming around in the apartment. And I guess a slight little tease. In a couple of weeks, I'll be moving, and maybe the cats will actually be on video for some point. Maybe a bit of a tease for the people who are still just listening. If you are watching, you might get a glimpse of some cute little cats
May I
playing in the
chime in
background.
with a couple of
Yes.
name options?
Oh,
All right,
well, I can't
so-
wait. All right, hit me.
I've got a couple.
Yeah.
Renea and Damon, as a bit of a Game of Thrones House of
Right.
Dragon reference. My brother
Well,
and sister.
I wouldn't
so, yeah,
want them
kinda-
to
kinda
make
close.
out. That's a bit of a spoiler.
That's
I
fine.
guess.
That one,
Yeah.
Anyway, we've got what about Jamie and Cersei? That's not a bad one.
I think
between the
you're
two.
kind of on a theme of incest, and I'm not
Here,
not all for
I'm
it.
thinking maybe Daenerys and Jon, brother.
What's coming up next?
Like,
Mia Malkova and Johnny Sins? Or what kind
there
of
you
trailer
go.
are we on
Well,
here?
my next option was going to be Lachlan and Lachlan, but that doesn't really
Right.
work as well as any of the other ones. But
Well-
there are some decently good names for like
Yeah.
very closely related
Well, I was thinking about gin and tonic
Pets.
as well. For me, that's
Gin and
also a
tonic?
fun name. Gin and
That's
tonic,
an
yeah.
alcohol reference, right? Yeah. What
That
about
is an
Rick and
alcohol
Morty?
reference. There's alcohol in the background somewhere here. So
It's too
yeah,
blurred. I can't see.
part of
They
my
could just be
identity.
bottles of
Well,
soft
they're not
drink.
paying for it. I'll unblur
Yeah,
it
true.
if they pay for
Yeah,
it.
true.
But that's that. I think that's more than enough from the intro and a bit of an update corner. Lachlan, do you have any updates to share with us? Are you unexpectedly a father as well, or something like that?
I sure hope not.
Well, you're
I
weak
sure
on the
hope
stories
not.
this week, then.
Yeah, no, I don't really have anything to add.
Yeah.
I've ordered a bunch of film for my Rolly cord.
Oh, that's sweet. Yeah, for those
Yeah,
film lovers on the visual side, you got to check that out.
camera. It was my grandfather's, and it's been
Mhm.
sitting on my collector's shelf for a little bit, and it's still functional. I've just never gotten around to ordering film for it, so I finally ordered some film, and I've watched like multiple videos of how to actually make this camera function, and I can't wait. So hopefully, can get some photos up and running shortly.
That sounds sweet. I'm looking forward to.
Oh, and I
to
got
seeing
I
those.
got a tattoo of James Cameron across my chest. I'm kidding. I think.
It's just Avatar. It says Avatar 4, Way of the Wind. That's it for the intro, and we'll jump into the news section. And as always, we're doing quick news, but this time, Warner Brothers Discovery is not part of quick news. Lachlan, that's reason to
No
celebrate, right?
controversies!
For once, they don't have
Yes,
some
no
cringe news item about
controversies.
canceling some show or film.
Excellent.
But D23 happened, and a whole bunch of stuff got announced. Not as much new stuff from Star Wars or Marvel, but mainly just on the Pixar and live action front. Over from Disney, and we're just gonna run down all of the headlines in quick news fashion and chat about them afterwards. Maybe the things that stick out that are the most interesting. And maybe to kick things off, this was also about the upcoming 100-year celebration of Disney. They are having an anniversary, and apparently they also showed a lot of like the footage they showed and trailers are not shared with the public yet. It was for the people who attended there, for the press people, and of course we weren't there. But they showed a new intro that apparently is now going to be the new one, not the one that emerges from the bottom and shows the castle, but I think it starts in the back somewhere. I don't know exactly, but all the leaks that happened, or like the footage that was shown, was taken down copyright style by Disney, and I don't know what they're doing. It would be sweet to see that already, but I guess they're saving that until there's reason to celebrate, and they're actually 100 years old. But
it's when they unfreeze Walt Disney and he's come back to life.
Well, I don't know if there's. Do you think they're gonna do that at 100, or maybe gonna save that for like later generations once Disney becomes a bit more irrelevant, and then it's like ultimately because everything will, and then
once
unfreeze
Disney
them.
becomes a mega corporation and has its fingers in every single government around the world, then our Lord and Savior Walt Disney, who's just in a frozen head, will emerge as our supreme leader.
It would be funny if they wait as long as they did with Captain America in the MCU, and then people are gonna say it's a Marvel reference.
It's
an outdated Marvel reference.
You copied Marvel.
He's the first animator. They call it Disney, the first animator, instead of
Disney, the first animator.
Yeah. That's the future of film. But no, the actual future of film is consisting of a bunch of sequels that are premiering over on Disney or on Disney Plus. Some of them are like, they didn't really discern which stuff is going to Disney Plus or which is theatrical. They said it, of course, but they didn't in the presentation do that difference. But most of the things here are going into a theatrical run. But we got the sequel announced to Hocus Pocus 2 and got a trailer for it as well. Disenchanted, Enchanted 2 is getting a sequel. Then they're doing another theme park ride into a movie with the Haunted Mansion. Early on, Guillermo del Toro was signed on to do this, or was in talks. He stepped back and someone else has filled in. No trailer here yet though. And then they showed some footage of the Barry Jenkins prequel. to The Lion King, the 2019 Lion King, not directed by Jon Favreau, but now by Barry Jenkins, and it's telling the story of Mufasa. And then they did a panel on Indiana Jones 5 and showed a bit of a trailer. We didn't get one yet for the public to see, but apparently the buzz is really there to have a final hurrah for that character. And the movie is coming out on June 30th in 2023, and it's directed by James Mangold, so we don't have to wait for too much longer until we get the hopefully final chapter with Harrison Ford in the Indiana Jones franchise.
Other than those cool Disney live action movies, on the silver screen, Disney's live action TV series that are coming to air. We're going to do a quick run through them. Willow, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the Santa Clauses, and National Treasure, Edge of History. Now, a number of those are obviously already established IPs that Disney is just dipping their money and money-driven hands back into. So,
Yeah.
more TV shows for Disney Plus. I'm very excited.
Exactly. I think the Santa Clauses would be funny if it's an actual like lawyer show and it's about like clauses in law.
Clauses,
But
yeah.
I watched the trailer. It's not that. It's just a new Santa Claus.
Rip.
On the live action remake front, yes, that's an actual category for Disney. We are getting the live action remake of The Little Mermaid. First little teaser there. Looked quite exciting. I really love the Little Mermaid original film from the 90s. So yeah, this comes out on May 26th in 2023. And then we got David Lowery, a much beloved filmmaker on the Quiet on Set podcast here, doing Peter Pan and Wendy. And finally, Snow White with Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot comes to theaters in spring 2024. And that's all the remakes, I think, for now. I don't know if they're working on anything else.
Back to Disney's roots, on the animation side, their new film Wish, which is the origin story of a wishing star. That's a very interesting concept, I see. And it looks like it's a mixture of 2D, 3D animations, kind of like their traditional animated movies and a mixture of their more modern stuff. That will be quite interesting. I like a good blend of style and substance. And also another animated movie, Elemental, which is slated for June 16th, 2023. Elemental, the movie, is exactly what it sounds like, and it's like, do elements have emotions like the rest of every animated movie that's ever come out in the past 10 years? Does blank have emotions? Does X have emotions? You know, so yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I kind of grouped all of those films together because they are that is that Pixar-like film, and I think Elemental is also going to be a Pixar film. And to me, it's interesting because Pixar is doing a couple of new things whilst still going back to their oldest stuff. They just had a little bit of a series with Cars on the Road, which just was Cars on the Road. Exactly what you expect you got there. They also are doing their first ever, I guess, full-on animated season with Win or Lose, which is going to be a baseball show. I think about a softball or a baseball team, and each episode is going to take a different perspective of a different character of the show. Interesting concept there, very Pixar-like. And then I think probably the biggest announcement, one of the biggest announcements going out of D23, at least for me, was the announcement for Inside Out 2 coming to theaters in 2024, and telling the story of Riley as a teenager. A bit of behind the scenes news drops there is that apparently Bill Hader and Mindy Kaling aren't coming back for the sequel because of their payouts. Apparently they were paid less, and I assume they're going to be recast. Maybe they're doing some different emotions, but I'm quite keen. Inside Out has been one of the stronger films from Pixar in the recent years. And then Elio, an alien story or a sci-fi story? I don't know. We don't know much yet about Elio, but it's certainly quite interesting. I mean, it is slated for spring 2024, so it's quite a while off until we get it, but apparently he's getting abducted by aliens and then represents the Earth in some kind of galactical community. Sounds really
Star-Lord?
interesting. Star-Lord? Yes, exactly. It's Disney, so they always keep circling back into the same IP.
Circling
It's
back,
just like,
same idea.
it's their nature. But yeah, I guess speaking of Marvel, Lachlan.
Speaking of Marvel, you mean speaking of Star Wars,
Mm.
Lucasfilm?
Well, you
That's
can
what I'm
you
going
can
to
go
be
to.
talking about.
Okay.
I'd rather talk about Star Wars if I'm totally
Okay,
honest,
okay,
because
that's good.
I'm on. If you haven't listened recently, I'm a bit on a binge of the Clone Wars animated series, and I finally got to the juicy parts, the final
Yeah.
few seasons, where all of a sudden it cranks it up, and war crimes happen, and really dark shit happens as well.
Exciting.
On the Star Wars side,
Mhm.
Mandalorian Season 3 is coming for all of you baby Yoda fans, and the new series Andor live action, obviously based on the character from Rogue One, which
Mhm.
one of us has already seen,
Well, 4
and
episodes
it's
so far.
not. It's the 4 episodes, and one of us hasn't seen it
Yeah.
because
Disney
we
is
can't.
really strict about their screeners. Like they
So,
they
Disney,
track you the whole
I
time.
love you. I
No
love you very
way
much.
I could share
But
you.
out of the two of us here, who is the
Yeah.
Star Wars fan, you gave it to the
Yeah.
wrong person.
Well, sorry about that.
Something that we neither of us have seen, and I will
Mhm.
probably watch it as soon as it comes out because I'm already hyped for it. I'll probably put Clone Wars aside so I can watch this live with every other Star Wars fan. Tales
Yeah.
of the Jedi.
Mhm.
Very, very exciting stuff. You've got a young Dooku who was very prominent in the trailer, and a young Qui-Gon Jinn as well, which was taken
Yeah.
up for the majority of the trailer. There is a couple of stories that they've got in here that they're telling, but for me, that was the one that I got most hyped about. So I'm very excited for another little delve into the Star Wars universe by the Clone Wars creators. I
Mhm.
would hopefully like to see a bit of new stuff, something that's not really been done out of the Skywalker, realm. I know
Yeah.
that Taika Waititi is working on a Star Wars thing, and I have mixed feelings about Taika, but yeah, for
Mhm.
currently what I've seen of Tales of the Jedi Season 1's trailer, sign me up. Sign me up, Chief. Now,
Yeah.
Marvel. What is Marvel doing, Ewan?
Marvel is doing a secret invasion of great actors inserted into their
What?
TV shows, apparently.
Oh, no
Yeah,
way!
Secret Invasion Season 1. I was so surprised to see Olivia Colman up on the screen.
Wow.
Emilia Clarke, Kingsley Ben-Adir. Looks quite fun to
Wow.
me. Yeah, a bit more down to earth, less superhero based show. Maybe most akin to the second Captain America film, The Winter Soldier, where it's a bit more political, maybe that type of stuff. To me, this looks quite interesting. Promising. I mean, they already are slated to do a big Avengers standoff with Secret Invasion, so it better be setting some stuff up. That's what the MCU does so well. Which is basically the story of Thunderbolts. I think it's a movie. Yeah, they're doing a movie for Thunderbolts, if I'm not off there. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. But a bunch of characters that have appeared in previous films, from Ant-Man and the Wasp, in Black Widow, Sebastian Stan as the Winter Soldier, Wyatt Russell as the kind of stand-in Captain America for a while in Captain America and the Falcon, David Harbour. They all are coming together apparently as the Thunderbolts in that show / film. I don't know. I don't care. But yeah, that's the Thunderbolts, the Dark Super Avengers, the Dark Avengers, not the Dark Super Avengers. Yes, I should be in charge of marketing over at Disney. But to me, like, this is just stuff that's been announced. Whatever, we've seen some stuff. We know what to expect. But something that was quite unique, based on a Marvel comic IP, Werewolf by the Night, a black and white trailer, really atmospheric, really, I guess, dare I say, different than what Marvel usually does. Yeah, kept me quite intrigued. And there is a trailer playing alongside that as well. Look, did you make anything of Werewolf by Night?
I
haven't
haven't
seen it.
actually seen the trailer. I have
Yeah.
seen stills. Look, kind of interesting. I've seen the kind
Mhm.
of style of it. What I will say is I don't know if I'd like to see Marvel I mean, I do want to see Marvel jump out into different styles, but if we go off by what they've done in the past, it's really more just a filter
Surface
layer
level?
on top. It's
Yeah.
not really exactly surface layer. It's never really that much further than that, and that's a bit
Yeah.
unfortunate. I'd like to see Marvel really take a leap, take a jump, which they've done in the past with their first lot of movies, and then they tried a bit more experimental stuff with Ant-Man and especially Thor Ragnarok. Let your
Yeah.
IP just be given to a creator and let them go crazy with it. I'm actually watching the trailer in the background as I'm talking right now, and it does have this really cool look to it. I'm not gonna lie, but I feel like just like any kind of, oh, you know what? Sam Raimi's coming back for doing, the
Yeah.
multiverse of madness. It's gonna be a horror
Yeah.
film, and it ends up just being a whole bunch of trash. So
Yeah.
hopefully Marvel's going to take a step back with them, trying to be completely different and really focus on smaller stuff, hopefully like this film or TV show.
TV show. Yeah, it's gonna be a TV show, and yeah, I is it like for me? For some reason, it was really close to, I guess, bodies, because it did feel like, oh, the werewolves game. It's
Yep.
probably not about that, but I don't know. It had that a bit of that vibe, but I mean, it looks interesting, different enough that I'll definitely give it a watch. But that's such a low bar. There's really not much that I don't watch, but Lachlan, you've been gaming recently, and I guess Marvel has
Not
also been
Marvel
working on
games.
some games. Well, definitely not Marvel
Yeah, I
games.
saw
No,
that.
sticking with
Not
DC
Marvel
on that front. Yeah.
Sticking with DC on that one. No, I saw the Black Panther and Captain America, sorry, not Captain Marvel, game
Interesting
that got
combo there as
announced.
well. Yeah.
Look, Marvel games have not had a good reputation in the past, especially the Avengers. I will say that the Spider-Man game is very, very, very good, and so is Guardians of the Galaxy. It was a little bit of a surprising hit, funnily enough. So I'm not going to stay too much on the games because, honestly, Marvel games aren't that exciting, and there's plenty of other games that are going to come out that are way more exciting. God of War
Like
Ragnarok, sign me up.
15 farming simulators over on the Switch.
Yeah, I know you're a Nintendo lover, so I'm sure
Well,
you've already pre-ordered
there's
all
not much
15
to
of
love
them,
about
Ewan.
Nintendo as of recent.
Actually,
Maybe at some point,
about farming
Legend of
sims.
Zelda. Yeah.
Funny thing about farming sims, I started playing Stardew Valley this week. I'm addicted to it.
I think
so much fun.
That's the highest tier of I think like that type of game.
Oh yeah.
It's really is really good. But it's just like it's a low effort thing for a lot of I guess production studios or for game companies to do that. But I guess with Marvel, I don't they're probably not working on a farm simulator. It would be very funny if it's
No,
like,
definitely
the one thought that you have, like, oh yeah, maybe Groot would be funny to have a farming simulator. I assure you someone's brought that up in a meeting. But anyways, I think that wraps it up for all of D23. A whole bunch of news and new things to consume over on Disney Plus and on the silver screen from the Mickey D Mouse. But let's move on to some other trailers, some trailers of some films that aren't connected to some larger franchise or aren't a sequel. And first up, Lachlan, I don't know if you caught up with these trailers, but I have a set of 3 trailers. Decision to Leave, Close, and Armageddon Time that I was already able to see all of them in Gun. And did you give them a watch, by the way? Those 3? What did you make of them?
Decision to Leave had a really quirky style to it, and I'm very excited to watch a lot of these films, but that one there did stand out as very, very different and exciting. Close seemed like a very emotional story, and I wasn't really in the mindset to watch anything emotional, but it did look like it was very well crafted, and I'm gonna assume it is good. Ewan, give me a thumbs up or thumbs down.
It's my favorite movies in 3 years. It's that
Oh
good.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna miss it.
But I love sad films.
Armageddon
it's a sad
Time.
Yeah.
Armageddon Time had that weird quirkiness to it, and had a lot of awesome actors as well. So out of the 3 there, no, Armageddon Time is a no-go. Ewan says.
Mid.
Alrighty then.
Decision to Leave, 1 thumbs up, Close, 2 thumbs up, Armageddon Time, bit of mid.
Oh, okay, give it a miss. Look, I'm gonna try to watch as many as I can. I'll try to watch Armageddon Time first, just to piss off Ewan. Anyway,
Yeah, there's some other trailers, some stuff that premiered over in TIFF that we both didn't go to. Hey, that's something we got in common. We didn't go to Toronto.
wow.
Not together,
But you know where
not by
you went?
ourselves.
Venice.
Well,
you went to
Well,
Venice.
yeah, but that's in the past, man. That's in the past. That was so late August, like a week ago. So, anyways, they had the premiere of a bunch of films, All Quiet on the Western Front, played over there, The Goodness and Corsage. Shouting out these 3 films because they're also playing at the Zurich Film Festival, which I will be attending and Lachlan won't. I guess we're back to this already.
Back to this again.
And yeah, I've seen Corsage, gets a thumbs up from me. And yeah, The Goodness and All Quiet on the Western Front. What do you make of those 2 trailers? You're not allowed to speak on Corsage because I already gave it the thumbs up, by the way.
That was the one I was probably least interested in anyway. So looks like it's just The
Fair
Goodness.
enough. The one I like, you don't like.
Which All Quiet on the Western Front. Fuck it, I don't care about the other ones.
Yeah.
All Quiet on the Western Front looked very exciting. It looked like 1917, but without the one take. Excellent, so good. One
That's
takes are
every war
completely
film.
unnecessary.
It's every
I'm
war
comparing-
film.
Fine. All Quiet on the Western Front. Well, it's like I don't know. Cross the one take from 1917 and Saving Private Ryan. There you go.
Yeah.
That's All Quiet on the Western
Yeah,
Front. Have you
yes.
seen? You said you've seen it, right? No, you're going to go see it.
No, I haven't, but I read the book.
Right. And thumbs up or thumbs down for the
Double
for the
thumbs
book?
up for the book.
Yeah,
It's really
double
good,
thumbs
but
up. Wow.
Yeah, great.
I don't
literature.
read, so I'll just watch the movie.
Yeah, I was about to say you don't read, so you wouldn't know.
I don't read.
It's a German book. It's going to be a German film. Perfect to
Even better,
premiere.
I don't read in German. I barely read English, so why
I
would
can
I
read
a
it to you
German
in
book?
German. That would be quite the
Yeah,
experience.
you do the audiobook, man. That'll be perfect. I'll fucking listen to that. As long as I don't
Yeah,
have to
no.
read German words.
That would be crazy if you actually read it in German. But no, it's a hugely popular book, and that's gonna come out over on Netflix. Same as The Good Nurse, the movie we're least interested in because it's that kind of movie that comes out every couple of months. What it feels like, but probably honestly a couple of years, where it's about like, yo, there's someone. It's kind of sus. I'm already talking Gen Z talk, by the way, Lachlan, just letting you know, because maybe there's some
Yeah, I
more
heard-
Gen Z
I
people
just
tuning in for
discovered that.
Buddies.
I discovered that.
Yeah, ooh. I'm totally not like right on
You're
the edge
totally
of
not
being
trying-
Gen Z
yeah.
myself. But no, The Good Nurse, Eddie Redmayne, and I'm blanking on her name. What's
Jessica
not-
Chastain.
Jessica Chastain is also in there. Looks kind of interesting, but nothing great. So, but yeah, I'll be checking that out at the Zurich Film Festival.
Aren't they both Oscar-winning actors and actresses?
I mean, she won last year, right? For
Yeah,
Time
she
of
won
Day.
last year. Did Eddie Redmayne win an Oscar, or am I?
He
am I-
won for everything.
wrong?
The Stephen Hawking thing, a film, I think. Back
Oh
in
yeah.
2016.
Yeah,
or something like that.
That's it.
Yeah. Anyways, couple more movies that premiered over at TIFF that we didn't see yet. So Lachlan, again, hey, connecting, man. I didn't see these
Connecting.
films as well.
What?
Please
Good
don't
friendship
hate me
is all about
too much.
making consequences. Consequences? No, that's not what I'm trying to say.
Our friendship is all about like how many movies we are apart.
Yeah.
You know that they made that movie 5 feet apart about like 2 cancer kids. It was actually
That's about
like,
us.
originally
That's about
based
us.
on
except
us, and
we
it's
don't
about
have
how many
cancer. We are in love, I think, but like,
the amount of movies you can stack between the two of us physically. The Blu-ray edition.
you've definitely watched like at least 300 films this year, at least.
Yeah, I think I'm closer to about 500, but yeah.
Oh, for fuck's sakes! Bro, I reckon I've watched.
I mean,
I
I
reckon,
watched
I reckon
40
I've watched
films at the Venice
most
Film
150. I reckon I've watched
Yeah.
at least 150, maybe
Mhm.
maybe 140.
That's still a lot of films. I'm just a freak of nature, so don't feel bad about that at
Mm.
all.
And now you're a father. Like,
I am a father. I'm so much ahead of you, also in age.
Mm.
So maybe you should feel good about yourself because you're younger.
Thank you, man.
Some old plus
You're a
ratio and
millennial.
bald. And I'm not a millennial. I'll take offense to that. Anyways, back to the movies. Wendell and Wild premiered over at TIFF, as well as the My Policeman, not The Policeman, and Steven Spielberg's The Fablemans. Before we talk about The Fablemans, because it's obviously the one that's probably the most interesting out of these, Wendell and Wild is going to be streaming on Netflix. Lachlan, what
excellent.
did you make of it? Right? Looks really quirky,
Oh
fun.
man, okay. Wendell and Wild was, as soon as I saw the style, I was like, Yes,
Mhm.
sign
I'm in.
me the fuck up. Henry Selick, let's go.
Mhm.
I was so ready. Then to see that Jordan Peele is producing, I'm even more excited.
Uh-huh.
This looks like one incredible. Uh, again, all of his films, Henry Selick's films, just look insane.
Yeah.
Obviously, Coraline is one of the biggest ones, and visually,
Mhm.
that's so freaking pleasing to watch. Same with this. I think it's going to look incredible. And now that it's on
Yeah.
Netflix, I'm super excited.
Yeah, gonna be easy to watch and widely accessible. And then the Policeman, my again, my
It
Policeman.
looks super
It's
boring.
my
I don't care.
Policeman.
Move on. Skip.
Same. I've heard some bad things about Harry Styles, that he's miscast. I mean, I probably agree with that after seeing Don't Worry, Darling. But yeah,
Ooh.
yeah. Anyways, The Fablemans, a film about filmmaking by
Ooh.
Spielberg, playing a bit on his
I
name, you know.
have. I
Oh
have
no, sorry. Yeah, you
Oscar.
have thoughts?
Oscar all
Oscar?
over it.
Yeah, I've heard that it's quite. I mean, it seems quite Oscar baity. Those like
Mm.
Belfast type of stories about yourself, but I think that Spielberg is someone who can bring a unique enough twist to it.
Oh,
So I'm quite keen for it. It's probably gonna be cheesy as fuck, but still gonna be quite
I
enjoyable
don't
if it
know.
like, you know,
There
highlights
is
that.
Paul Dano's in it. Seth Rogen's in it. I love those two. I
Yeah.
think the Fablemans has this potential to be a really awesome story.
hmm
Um,
It looked
like
visually
I don't know.
amazing.
There's just something about it that it's obviously not focusing too much. I mean, the trailer goes on, and talking about trailers, like I thought this trailer was actually really good. I think the next
Yeah.
trailer is so much better. But anyway, the
Yeah.
Fablemans trailer kind of evolves into this story, going from this small scale movie telling to this bigger scale,
hmm
and still this relationship with his mother and father. Obviously, based on Steven Spielberg's life, Michelle
Yeah.
Williams looks like she's gonna definitely, probably, I reckon, going to get a Oscar nomination for this film because I think it's going
Yeah.
to very much focus on her as much as it's
hmm
Spielberg's growing up and it's his story. It's definitely got a bigger focus on his mother and their relationship with her and him. And
Yeah.
again, it depends how much Paul Dano's, obviously, who plays Sammy Fableman's father, in
Yeah.
this, Steven's dad essentially, how much he plays into rock because he could also go for another Oscar nom. So I see both
hmm
Michelle and Paul being Oscar worthy. I'm still not sure about who plays Sammy, Gabrielle LaBelle. I
Yeah.
don't see much in the trailer where I'm like very impressed, but
hmm
Michelle Williams in that trailer really stole the show for me. So I am quite
Yeah.
excited to watch this film. It's going to be a Spielberg sensation, I reckon.
I mean, it's always the thing, like, does the child performance kind of step up to par with the rest of the cast? I mean, most recently, Florian Zeller's new film, The Sun, for example, like, it completely fall flat on its face because that didn't work. So hopefully that all sticks to the landing. But I think Spielberg is also great at directing teenagers, children. So I'd probably be set on this being quite good. But Lachlan, we want to waste no more time and talk about Damien Giselle's Babylon. And absolutely
Oh, yeah, yeah.
fantabulous. I'm lacking the words. I'm coming up with new words to describe this amazing trailer, which I just caught up with it
Insane.
as you were waiting for me to begin the recording. And for some reasons, I don't know what came over me, but I just had like a little bit of tears forming in my eyes. Like, holy shit, that was so good. The editing, the visuals,
Yeah.
the performances. This looks so much fun.
Damien Chazelle, it's in the name. If you think about any of his films, the one thing it screams is energy. Like, it's
Yeah.
incredible that this man has such a wicked lineup. I mean, if we want to talk about energy, Whiplash, which is what whipped
Mm,
him into the world of film,
yeah.
was wicked. To then have it followed up by La La Land, which I love
hmm
so much, and again screams energy.
hmm
First Man, I would say, was a bit of a dip down, but I still would say that had this really awesome aspect to it. But
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing about Babylon was the fact that the trailer was like starting off and you go, oh, wow, this is incredible. And by the end, you feel like you've done 10 lines of Coke alongside all of the other characters that you see in this film.
Yeah.
So I'm very
Yeah.
excited for this film. I sign me up. I want to go see it on the
Mm.
biggest screen.
Oh yes, for sure.
Is it coming out this year?
It is coming out this year. Yeah, I think it's got a December release, if I'm not mistaken there.
Excellent. And the cast. How can we not talk about the cast? Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie, Olivia Wilde. You've got Tobey Maguire. You've got Spike Jonze is in this film. My God, there is people I did not expect. Samara Weaving. Sorry. Wow, there is people in this film, left, right, and center.
I love myself some unhinged Brad Pitt. I think that's always like a great way to go off. And both of us, I think, enjoyed his performance in Bullet Train. Some people were split on it. I really enjoyed it. So I think him going just like further into just like a really like a caricature of a character, even. I'm all down for it. But
the other thing as well is I think
sorry.
you and I, we love films about film. So this is obviously about the rise of sound in cinema. So, you know, both this Fablemans, I think we're both signed up to watch because, you know, what else is there? City of Lights. What's that other one that came out
Empire of Light?
a few weeks ago? Empire of Light, sorry, not City of Lights. There was another one that we're talking about that's about film. I can't remember what it is now.
You know, Empire of Light is like 1917, but without the war and without the one take, but it's done by Sam.
Without the one take, and it's basically the same. Yeah, exactly. No, man, I'm keen. Sign me up.
Yeah, me too. And then I think lastly, we just got a short teaser, and it's basically just a name reveal for the third film within the X franchise, Maxxxine with 3 X's. By X-Men Force Porn Actress in it. No, that would be fun to actually have a slasher within the X-Men franchise. But no, after Pearl, the prequel, we are getting a sequel to the original film that was set in the 60s or 70s, and now we're getting an 80s film. Having seen Pearl, I think it's also out in the States right now. I think it's a film that goes into a completely different like it's less of a slasher overall. It's more of a bit of a weird twisted character study in a sense. And I think reinventing not reinventing, that's maybe putting it like praising it a bit high, but doing something different with the slasher formula. I think it's kind of working for Ty West. So I'm quite keen for Maxxxine as well.
Yeah, I have nothing to say other than my X-Men jokes, so we can move on.
Yeah, we can move on, and let's get to what we've been watching. So yeah, Lachlan, what have you been watching?
I'll keep it pretty simple. Rick and Morty, baby. Rick and Morty's back. I've been watching myself some Rick and Morty, having a good old time. Other than that, I mean, the first couple episodes of this season have been mediocre, I would say, compared to the rest of the series. But
how many have you seen? The first two so far?
Yeah, first two. Yeah, I can't.
Yeah.
You can't
I thought the second one was a bit stronger than the first one.
Oh, dude, Die Hard episode was way better than the first episode. Which I mean, I guess the first episode was them wrapping up that kind of story and then closing it off and welcoming in a new story, but still building on something, which is exciting. That Rick and Morty's become this, you know. It's episodic, and the kind of contained stories have evolved into this, you know, season-long story that they're trying to tell while still maintaining that small-scale story. So I'll definitely say the opener was, you know, mediocre, but I would say that the majority of Rick and Morty seasons, I feel like it's usually the season finale, and that's the best episode and a couple episodes in between. But I would say it's just the quotable freaking stupid stuff they do in it. Like, I remember I went to work the next day, and we're all just like, Die Hard, Die Hard, Die Hard, Die Hard. I'm doing a Die Hard. Like, everyone's just referencing I'm doing a Die Hard because Rick and Morty said it. So it's like, it's fun to watch this show grow into what it is now, just a meme in amongst itself. So yeah, Rick and Morty, baby. It's back.
Pretty fun. Coming out weekly, I think, on FX. I don't know. I'm getting it in a different place here on Sky.
It's Netflix.
But you'll find it. Here. You'll find it. It's out. Anyways, I watched the abysmal, whatever it was, Pinocchio film by Robert Zemeckis. It's as bad as you'd expect it to be. It's not worth the watch. It really is a haunted piece of media. And caught up with season 5 of Cobra Kai. That show is just so unhinged, so crazy. It's funny. It's very cringy, but I think it is enjoyable if you don't take it seriously. And like a lot of the stuff is really serious within the episode, and I never within the series, and I never know like what part they wanna actually be taken seriously, because you can't, like, nothing in the show makes any sense, or like, but it's fun to watch. And then lastly, I think it's coming out soon, and I'll have like a short little actual review going into it. I will just mention that I've seen Blonde, and dude, that film is like 3 hours long. It doesn't feel like 3 hours,
Wow.
but it goes all over the place. It goes from like aspect ratio changes to black and white, back to color. Like it cuts from a scene. Within the scene, it switches to black and white, but stays within the frame, and then in the next, it just expands again. It feels super messy. I don't know if it wants to be this messy, if that's like, it certainly is intentional, but I don't know if it's coming together too well. I still had a great grand old time with it, because it's a lot of like, just style over substance, about this like fictionalized version of Marilyn Monroe. But it's coming out on Netflix quite soon, and I'm keen for more people to see it, to their reactions, because I think it's going to be quite something that people are going to be super split on. But that's what we've been watching separately, Lachlan, and we have been catching up with the Lord of the Rings show, The Rings of Power episode 1 through 4.
Yep.
Halfway through the season, Lachlan, what do you make of the show so far?
We're halfway there. So far, so good. I would say that I don't hate it. I'm not
Yeah.
in love with it as much as I
Mhm.
would say that I'm in love with the original trilogy, but I guess that's
Yeah.
had the ability to stand the test of time. Although I will say that recently rewatching or reviewing of particular scenes has kind of aged poorly, but I would definitely say that this, like, Rings of Power so far, everyone's doing a great job when it comes to performances. Every actor, actress, kid, old man, everyone's doing a great job. Every CGI dog
Harfoot.
is doing a great job. I would say that the story is a little bit all over the place. They are doing
Yeah.
a multi-split storyline. You know, you're following elves here, and an elf here, and a dwarf here,
Yeah.
and then you're following the Harfoots. There's a lot of storylines going on that you got to keep memory of, but they are
Mhm.
quite simple, and honestly, most of them keep it quickly paced as best they can. Because obviously, I feel like any Lord of the Rings story, a Lord of the Rings is definitely a 3.5, or 4 hour long movie, and then it needs to be followed by obviously a shittier 3.5, 4 hour long movie prequels. That's Lord of the Rings. It should
That
always be
is.
that format, and it definitely suffers from
Yeah.
that TV-ness of it. It's hard to say what it is. It just doesn't have that, I think, spectacle and flair that a movie does.
Yeah.
And it's a bit unfortunate, because that's the great thing about Lord of the Rings. It's a spectacle, and they have these really awesome CGI shots of introducing these lands, but they've kind of stopped that as you've gotten to the latest episode 3 and 4. It's definitely more focusing on the
Yeah.
story, especially with episode 4. It's completely forgotten about the Harfoots, but it also hints a little bit of information about Sauron regarding that storyline. So you start to
Yeah.
see that these stories are now coming together a little bit in a very small way, and how they're all linked, but it's still not, it's still not coming together as quickly as I thought it was going to be, but it definitely is more large scale than I thought. You
Yeah.
still have, split stories with Lord of the Rings, but I don't remember it being this many things I had to keep my memory attached to. And obviously, as it's a week on week release, you got to kind of really keep up to date with it, because I kind of watched episode 1 and then left episode 2 and 3 for another viewing, and I had to kind of go back and rewatch episode 1 to quickly remember everything that happened. So, yeah, for me, story so far is good. A bit over the place. I'm getting it together somehow. Some of the CGI is I don't know how to say this, but it's you kind of look at it and you go, that's a fucking green screen that they're standing behind. And then other
Yeah.
times you're like, is this a real place? Like they had the whole of New Zealand to shoot, but they shot on a fucking green screen for some of these shots. Like I don't know what it is, but there's
Yeah.
definitely some shots that could have used a little bit more refinement, but I get it. It's a TV
Mhm.
show. They didn't have that much money to spend on it. $1 billion.
Yeah.
That's all. So no, look, I don't really want to judge it harshly on the first 4 episodes because
Yeah.
there's so much of this show that looks freaking awesome. Like the orcs look insane.
Yeah.
Every character
Agreed, yeah.
looks so perfect. The sets, oh my god, the sets look incredible. I feel like the
Mhm.
production design is where all the money went to because everything
Yeah,
looks
agreed.
so good. It's just for me, currently the story is a little bit all over the place. Ewan,
You know
I've done
what
my
it
rant.
is? Yeah, sorry.
No,
You
go
know what
ahead.
it is? Yeah, you know what it is with I don't agree with the characters. I think the elves looks perfect because they're supposed to look perfect. I think they nailed that. But all of the like especially hair stuff just looks super fake to me, and I think it like you could just really tell that it's shot on a green
Are you
screen
talking about?
or when
You
it's
talking
not.
about the dwarves? Are you talking about the dwarves' hair?
The dwarf set is fine. I think it's like the hair foots that look really off to me, and just like all the
Yeah,
people
I
in that
guess.
city. It was just, but I think the orcs, like you said, look incredible. I think that like
Mm,
makeup is done incredibly well. So it's more of like a hair thing than a makeup thing. But it just stood out
yeah,
to me. It like I said, like at the start of when we just saw the trailers, I think it looks so glossy, and so far the show also looks really glossy to me. I think the story so far is okay. It's a bit all over the place. I agree there, but I think it comes from having like Game of Thrones in the zeitgeist. They're doing a bit of that, but also building towards something that we all know, like the creation of the rings. And
mm,
I think it's totally fine. But you can definitely see like the TV aspect of, okay, let's do a couple episodes where Galadriel is stuck on this before she can get back to her main
yeah,
plot. And
yeah.
it's like, okay, well, that stuff is not like too interesting. I thought that like the side story of the elf that is kind of stuck in the orc camp, like those scenes were riveting to watch because you were kind of on edge. And I think like the Game of Thrones era is also, and being on streaming services where I don't know how ratings like specifically apply, but there's a bit more blood that is shown in this show. I was a bit surprised.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that point. There is a little bit more violence than what I thought there was going to be for
Yeah.
this show. And to spring it into the conversation about violence, I think that the action in this is really good or really bad.
Yeah.
Like it's either a hit
Hmm.
or miss for some of the action scenes because anything with the elves looks spectacular.
Hmm.
For the majority of the part, but there is just like there's just some parts of it where you kind of just like it's that TV ness of it where it just looks a little bit too fake. Um,
Yeah.
to be believable, even though I've got to believe that giant eagles exist and halfwoods exist and stuff like that. But like if you kind of understand what I mean, there's a part of this show that you need to be like that's not really realistic in this kind of world, but we'll make it pass.
Yeah.
But the violence of this show was a little bit surprising.
What's been your favorite storyline so far?
I don't really have a favorite. That's the thing. I'm not
Yeah.
very. I'm not.
Still waiting on which one is like coming to the most
Yeah.
of
I'm trying to
like the
see.
most
I would
interesting ones,
actually.
right?
You know what? No, I lie. I lie. It would definitely be the relationship. Between God, his name's leaving me now.
I
It's not.
am abandoning trying to remember the names, unless they're
Yeah.
called the
The
Stranger.
relationship between the dwarf and the elf. So far,
Right.
that has
Yeah.
been my favorite storyline. I wouldn't
Hmm.
really. I'm not that interested in Galadriel's story that much because she's been stuck on this island for the past 3 episodes, and it's like, do
Yeah.
something. You're like the star of the show. Do something.
They
Like
saw
poking
Game
it
of
with a
Thrones and were like,
stick.
wait, Khaleesi was stuck on an island for like 5
Yeah.
seasons. Why not do the
Um,
same?
I would say the elf that was stuck with the orcs, and his love for that character. I thought that was a really interesting start, but then
Yeah.
again, he's stuck with these orcs, and it's like
Hmm.
I'm like, do something. And the what are they called again? Harfoots.
I didn't like that
That's probably one of
storyline,
the
to
more-
be honest.
I don't like the characters that much, the Harfoots, because they're so much
Mm.
like hobbits and they're really annoying, and I've never really liked the parts where they're in the Shire have always been the most boring to me.
Yeah.
Like the start of the freaking movie was just so. I was like, can you just get out of this place? I'm moving my hair out because these people are so annoying. And it's kind of the same, but I'm very intrigued on who this. Like, the only part of the Harfoot story that I care about is who is this person that's fallen from this comet? I want to know. And now they've just dropped that little piece of information about the meteor in the sky as a sign of Sauron's return. It's like, oh, it's all coming together. I want to know who this big, tall person is.
Yeah.
Is it Gandalf?
I mean, I got no clue. The thing is, I think it's the same with Game of Thrones, or like the prequel showing Game of Thrones and this, that I think you could read into the lore and there would be a lot of information out there, but I really choose to not engage with any of that and just like solely focus on the story
shows.
that they're telling on screen.
Well,
so maybe
speaking-
like there's some
speaking of
hints and,
Game of
and theories or
Thrones-
whatever, but yeah, speaking of
Game
that,
of Thrones, obviously that's the other show that's released at the same time as Lord of the Rings: Rings of Power. Which one would you say is? Are you caught up to date? Have you watched all?
I'm
3 or 4
caught
episodes?
up. Yeah, and I don't know if we should talk spoilers, or maybe we'll just keep it in our general thoughts, and we'll do like a season
spoiler
review.
free.
But I think that show has just really sparked, because I'm not big on fantasy, and I noticed that watching it, I really don't care that much about like that type of storytelling. But Game of Thrones keeps it so grounded that I'm like, oh yeah, there's dragons, and
Yeah.
there's fights. That's
Yeah.
all the fantasy that I need, and I think they nail the characters so well. They're so interesting. Like straight off the like one episode in, I'm rooting for like 4 different sets of characters. Sometimes they're up against each other,
Yeah.
but it's so engaging. And to me, they knocked it out of the park. I'm kind of concerned with this. Might be a slight spoiler for everyone who goes like in completely not knowing, but it's more casting. If you're concerned about that, then maybe skip ahead for 30 seconds. But like there's 2 sets of actresses for 2 of the younger characters, because they're doing a bigger time jump coming up to this next episode, and I think that's gonna make or break this whole season. Like, does it work if you switch to a completely different performer? Because I think like both of those young performers, they've been great. I would love to see them continue, but we're focused on something else instead. And they're already done it, the smaller time skip within like episode 2 to 3, I think. But yeah, like has it been working for you so far?
Look, House of Dragon was honestly a bit of a slow start for me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that I am blown away by it. There is a battle scene.
Be blown away by this.
Oh.
Drakiri.
Dracarys.
Dracarys fucked it up.
Come on, man, you know how high Valyrian.
Be burned alive.
Look, I would say that the show so far has been good. It's been probably solid, and it's maintained a good reception from me. I don't think I am more positive or negative on any episode so far. I've pretty much all been neutral on it. I'm not blown away. It's unfortunately, I thought that it would be very close to the good seasons of Game of Thrones, where you had this incredible visual storytelling and really good story. And so far, it's not at that level that I thought where Game of Thrones was. Like, Game of Thrones reached a point in probably like season 6 or 7 where it was peak TV, like peak TV storytelling. You know what? On a grander scale, I should say, I would definitely say the better seasons are closer to season 4 and season 5, but I would say that season 6, there are a lot of really good episodes. Funnily enough, Tanika finished watching Game of Thrones a few weeks ago, and we skipped through all of the episodes from season 1 to season 8 and saw their ratings, and we just saw them just dip. Like, they were like 9.9s, 8.9s, 9.4s for like season 1 till 5, and then it was like 8.5, 8.7, 8.1, and then it literally goes to season 8, and it's like 7.5, 6, and it's like 4, 3.
Ready for launch.
It's like really bad. But no, look, House of Dragon so far, I'm glad they're not just doing dragons just all the time, because that would really just be like, look at our dragons, be distracted. I think first of all, Matt Smith has done an incredible job with Damon. I think everyone's frothing over him.
Yeah.
And it's the same with everyone. Like every single performer has so far been really, really good. Unfortunately, it does require you to kind of, they really throw you into the story. They don't really do introductions that well. And
Yeah.
quickly you're like, oh, you're related to this person who's trying to get this, and you're here,
Yeah.
and this person is trying to fuck this person who's actually their sister, and it's like so many things just quickly come up in these 4 episodes.
I think there's not that as many characters in Game of Thrones though, and I think Game of Thrones also didn't take you by the hand like at all. But the introductions were a bit longer, and maybe they were subverging expectations a bit more about killing off certain characters when you don't expect it. And I think that show is going for something different. It's not doing that same thing of like, ooh, who's gonna die? Although we don't know yet. Maybe there's like something big coming later on, but
Yeah, there's been no
just-
big deaths, which has been unfortunate for me.
I guess in that sense, there were deaths in the show that I thought were quite impactful. But it's a bit more of a subdued, slower story. Although, what I agree, what might be a criticism is then we get really contained stuff that is just in King's Landing, and then it quickly expands, and then it goes back, and you're kind of like, okay, well, there's
Yeah.
a set of so many more characters. What's happening? And they're
Yep.
all there, but we ignore them. But like to me, that is a good thing and a bad thing. I wish we wouldn't like. That's why I'm skeptical towards this time skips, because like there's so much stuff that happens that I find interesting. I would love to stay with these characters in this time period, and I guess it's not the story that they tried to tell, but it feels like they're guiding my focus a bit too much. Where I would love to look a bit around and actually be immersed in the world a bit more.
So, out of Lord of the Rings and House of Dragon, which one would you say is the better one to watch right now? If you had to pick one.
I mean, for me, it's so easy. I'm not really liking Lord of the Rings, if I'm being honest. So I'm definitely sticking with House of Power.
I'd totally pick House of Dragon over Lord of the Rings right now. Definitely. Sorry, Jeff Bezos.
Anyways, that's it for what we've been watching. So let's get to our main review and spoiler-free review. So we're not going to spoil bodies for you, but let's get to that film. In an isolated family mansion, a group of rich 20-somethings decide to play Bodies, a game where one of them is secretly a killer while the rest tries to escape. Things take a turn for the worse when real bodies start turning up, setting off a paranoid and dangerous chain of events. So that's A24's Bodies, coming in at a runtime of 94 minutes. Quite a breeze little whodunit slasher watch. It's currently only been out in the States, and now it's getting a bit more of an international release date. Lachlan, I think you caught it in theaters, right? Earlier today.
Yes, I did.
It grossed about 11 million so far. Maybe in the shadow of a film that premiered earlier this year with Everything Everywhere All at Once, grossing over 100 million. That seems like it's not a lot at all, but I think for an A24 film, this is not totally terrible. Have an opening with just the domestic box office. I don't know what the budget was, but I assume it's just been a couple million. Yeah, so far this has been received, I think, kind of semi well. It's like that in that 7 out of 10 range. I mean, on Letterboxd, it's kind of in that range, 6.3. IMDb a 6.8, and on Metacritic a 70. But Lachlan, what did you make of Bodies, being on that high of, I guess, the A24 horror slasher films like X,
I hate to be the party killer here,
Yeah.
but I just thought it was okay. I do know people who are like
I'm sorry,
a
what?
bit more positive, but I just thought it was
Yeah.
Yep, it was there. It's a film from 2022. And I have nothing against any of the performances. For me, the performances from every single character, whether it be from like Sophie all the way to like Greg, each
Greg.
performer did a great job. And
Mhm.
even when they were delivering some of the cringiest lines I've ever heard from a
Yeah.
millennial Gen Z satire film, they did a great job. So for me, my issue with this film is lying mainly in the dialogue. I
Yeah.
was either like, for the first, I would say half, I knew I was coming into in terms of what I was getting myself into, I was coming into a film that was going to be a satire on, I guess, modern Gen Zers, millennials, people who are always
Mm.
on their phone, the way they speak, the way they make jokes, because there's a lot of
Yeah.
humor between Greg, who is an older man, who's been invited to this young group of friends, like little getaway, and there's
Mhm.
definitely a big, like, social gap between them because he's not understanding some
Yeah.
of the, like, he's like, "Oh, you're fucking with me" at one point, and it's like
Mm.
he didn't really get that, and it's a satire on one, how we take things at, what I would say would be our age, because I think we do take the piss out of a lot of stuff and we don't take
Mhm.
things as seriously, and emotions are just played for from anyone. You can fuck around with whoever you want and fuck with
Yeah.
people whoever you want. That's like what I see this film as. And just the dialogue would be either A, really, really good in terms of bouncing off each other. I would say there's probably
Mhm.
about a point 2/3 into the film. I would say a couple of people. It's a who done it. Okay, people are gonna die. There's a couple of people
Yeah.
who are dead, and they're trying to accuse each other, and they end up just accusing each other, and that evolves into, I actually don't like you, and I don't like you, and this person talks behind
Yeah.
your back, and this person talks behind your back, and there's a character who has a podcast, and they actually end up being like, "Fuck your podcast." And I thought, Ewan, that's quite funny. I feel
Yeah.
like we've all been in a conversation like that. Like, there's this part,
Yeah.
and that scene there, I was like, this is awesome. This is where this conversation, this dialogue is its best. But for the first
Mhm.
half of the film, I was like, this is just so annoying. And it was nothing against the
Yeah.
actors and actresses delivering the lines. It was just, I
Maybe it's
wasn't
just our
really
generation.
vibing with
No.
it, which is
Yeah.
unfortunate because I do vibe with a lot of this film.
Yeah, I think bringing that up, it so much leans into being about that like lingo and the way people are. So it's like a satire with, I think, not a clear line drawn of who's who. So it's less
Yeah.
stereotypical, but you still get that, and they kind of go in and out of being like the typical podcaster who's all full of herself. But then she's also super vulnerable, and then she's a combination of a bunch of things. And I love Rachel Sennett, but I think like her character is probably one of the weakest ones out of the whole cast. And it's a bit of a pity
Mm.
to see because she's just too much. And this film is too much at times where
She's a lot.
yeah, it wants to be like this. I don't know. I don't know if it just wants to be good fun, because I think at the end of the day, this, without spoiling it, this whole movie is basically just a quick little joke that you could tell in a minute. And that's like the whole plot. And I think that's totally fine for a whodunit. But honestly, there was one line that made me laugh out loud, and then I thought was like really, really funny, and that was the one about the the veteran veterinarian.
Yeah,
I think that was
yeah.
a really funny moment, and if it had more of that, like I'd say maybe 5, 6 different times I
Yeah.
actually get to chuckle, this movie would have
Yeah.
been better for me as well. But I'm not as mixed as you are on it. I was fairly entertained.
I did have an enjoyable time. It was just there was a
Yeah.
lot of parts I just felt weren't all there. There's a lot of
Yeah.
just wandering the house that doesn't really build any tension, and I felt like
Agreed,
my
yeah.
time was wasted. And
Mhm.
even though there are points where I did chuckle, and it was a very there was probably like 6 people in the cinema when I went and saw it, so it's not going to be.
Mm.
I don't think it's going to be a major success here in
Who
Australia.
done it between the two of
Um,
you? Did you guys sit around the
uh,
circle and slap each other in the face after?
Oh man. There was just parts of this film where I was like, why are we going here? Why is it
Yeah.
why are we having to walk from one room to another room to transition to a scene and it takes like 30 seconds? Like I just want to move
Mm.
on from this. So
But
there
it's
were
so
just
rich,
parts where it just
Lachlan.
lingers
The
too
house is
long.
just so
Yeah,
big.
no, it's so big, it's so rich.
Mhm.
And then that ends up being a plot point later on, the fact that they're super
Yeah.
rich, and I saw it coming
That's
out of
also
nowhere, and
super
I was like,
messy
what's
to also
the
bring that in, right?
so yeah, so for me, like the movie is mediocre.
Mhm.
More on the positive side, but I would say it's definitely in the middle.
Yeah.
Where it just, its biggest downfall is its biggest strength, and that's the dialogue and satire. I feel
Yeah.
like some jokes do land, and some jokes just
Mhm.
breeze on by, and there's a pause where you're waiting for something to happen, and it's like, and I don't, and it's not that funny. So,
Yeah.
I feel like the cast has this excellent relationship. They all really worked well with each other. So when they were going at each other's throats, it felt like that. And then when it felt like they were loving each other, they loved each other. And I really enjoyed the cast. They were all absolutely a joy to watch.
Yeah.
I would say that the technical side of it, because we obviously do like to analyze the technical side of it, I would say there's a bit of a downfall there. I don't feel like it was very. I felt annoyed by the way a lot of things were shot and how they were
Right.
presented to us. I just wasn't very happy with the presentation of this story.
hmm
And that might just be me. I felt like there were some scenes that were just too quiet, or there were scenes that were just a little bit too much. I don't really know
hmm
how to describe it because I've only just sat on it for a while, but it it just came down from a dialogue written side was just a bit all over the place. The technical side I
hmm
just don't feel like was to a standard that I probably would have liked from an
Yeah.
A24 film,
hmm
because I'm going to hold their films to a higher standard. But I can
Yes.
definitely see a part of me, and I was discussing this on the way home with Tanika. It was just like there's a part of me that goes, it was a fun one-time watch. I'm never going to
Yeah.
watch this film again, ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never going to watch
I
this
mean,
film
yeah,
again.
and it's different with other slashers because I think it's sometimes fun to see what like kind of breadcrumbs laid for the characters, or if it makes sense when you watch it
Exactly, not
back or
even
something like
slashers,
that.
whodunits. It's like it's fun to go
Yeah.
back and watch.
Oh,
As a great
hmm
example, since we talked about uh Glass Onion, Knives Out. I don't think Knives Out is the best whodunit ever, but when I went and rewatched it, it was like, oh, and little pieces are coming
Yeah.
together. I like it the second time. Where unfortunately, without spoiling this film,
hmm
the killer is completely left hook out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I guess to
Yeah.
play to one of its strengths, the greatest part about this film is you're always guessing who it is, and they don't
Yeah.
reveal it until right up to the very end, and you're like, oh. And that, again, I'm not to get into the person who killed everyone, but like the part where you're guessing, that was probably one of the best things about it, where I kept going,
hmm
okay, you're the killer, and then I went, actually no, now you're giving me more of a reason to think that this person has a motive, you're the killer. And I
Yeah.
was guessing the entire time. So for me, whodunits are great because you're trying to guess who it is. But a good whodunit is the rewatching factor of it. You go, I know who the killer is the first time. The second time you
hmm
rewatch it, you go, oh, look at all these little crumbs and pieces. There's really like nothing that
Yeah.
links the killer to this whole mystery.
I think it wants to go down into a dramatic route of how it ends, of like, ooh, shit, that's so bad. But it would have to be a bit more like harsh on that. I think it needed like another kill to end it, if that makes sense, without spoiling it.
Well,
I think it,
the
yeah,
the fact that it goes from this, I want to accuse you of this thing, to eventually just
yeah,
going to, this is the killer. Like, without
yeah.
spoiling, again, we don't want to spoil who the killer is, because
hmm
this film
Yeah,
hasn't had a
that's
big,
all of
wide
the enjoyment,
release.
and we don't want to. Yeah, so we tiptoe around it. Otherwise, I think if you watch a whodunit, even if you're interested in the film and you're like, yeah, no, I don't care about spoilers, I think it definitely affects it when you know it beforehand. So we won't do that for you. You gotta have to see that for somewhere else if you really want to know.
Yeah. And I think that because it just comes out of nowhere, because this film is only an hour and a half long. It's very short. It's very quick.
Yeah.
And even still, it's short and quick. I still say there's parts of this that are just too long, like those like shots walking around the house that don't build that much tension.
Yeah.
For a horror film, it's a horror comedy really more than anything. I
Mhm.
would definitely say that the horror aspects really go away quite quickly, and the only parts of this horror genre is cheap-ish jump scares.
Yeah, I don't think I
And
was scared a single time or like jumped from a jump scare. But I think what you said about like the writing, a lot of it also feels like let's throw a bunch of people in a room and then shoot them. Um like
let's
shoot the
get Pete
film.
Davidson to
Shoot
do
them.
a bit of stand-up and record that.
Yeah. It does have that type of vibe which like can work, but I think when you're trying to suss out who's like haha the imposter, it doesn't work that well because you need that through line and the leeway that is given just to name drop a bunch of like hot topic words and have those like it doesn't help that the discussions are as surface level as you could get with Gen Z. It's like, oh yeah, like gaslighting is overused, the word, and it's like, yeah, obviously everyone. I don't know. I feel like everyone's on the same page that Gen Z misuses or like uses labels, like obsesses over using labels and then doesn't actually have something to say because maybe they're still young, or I don't know. Like that aspect can be funny and can be interesting, can be a part of it. But I don't know. I think spoil another movie. I'm not spoiling it, but the ending of the new Scream film. I think the whole lead up of the film was way better than the reveal of like who actually did the stuff and like the reasoning for it. And at least it feels like this movie is less concerned about like that aspect of the story. It's more about like, okay, let's stay with these characters and have a bit of a spoof, a bit of fun, a bit more satirical, but less aware of the whodunit slasher genre. I don't think we have much to add here. I'd still give it a light recommendation on my end, especially if you are an A24 completionist. But having seen the most recent two horror films from A24, Everything Everywhere All at Once and After Yang, no, X and Pearl, it's not as good as both of those films. I think those are a bit more promising and a bit better, and I'd recommend them over Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. But yeah, Lachlan, where did you arrive at as a rating for Bodies, Bodies, Bodies?
Similar in the sense that I'm comparing this to two of my favorite films of the year so far. Everything Everywhere All at Once and After Yang. It's an A24 film, right? Isn't After Yang an A24 film, or am I tripping?
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah.
No, yeah, I thought so. Yeah. So I'm putting this on a higher standard. And as I said, this is a film you're only ever going to watch once. If you have half an hour to kill, it can be entertaining. Just be ready to be blurred out with a bunch of rubbish from people's mouths for a little bit. But it does entertain you in the fact that it keeps you hooked with trying to figure out who done it. I will definitely say that it's not recommended by me. I would probably say if you want to take a miss, there's plenty of other films that you are probably going to want to watch this year. If you're going to get to the part where like I usually get up to, where it's December, I've got to make my top 10 list for 2022, and I haven't watched 30% of the films, so I go through a whole like month of being like,
binge,
frick, I've got to watch like 1,700 movies to make my list to make sure I've got everything that I can. I definitely wouldn't say you'd need to, because I don't think this is going to be on anyone's top 10 list for the year.
No, agreed there. It's definitely not making it anywhere close to my top 10 as well. I mean, I gave it still a 3.5 out of 5 because I think that like the ending works for me mostly, and I found it good. And just a couple of jokes that landed with me. So maybe I'm just an A24 apologist in a sense. I'm like, you're holding it to a higher standard. I'm like, no, it's A24. It's gotta be good. It's gotta be at least decent. It can't be bad. But what about you, man?
2.5.
2.5. Ooh, coming in low, right down the middle. Landing there. Yeah, no, not too bad. Not too bad. I mean,
again,
you've
I don't think
given
it's
worse
bad.
ratings.
I just don't think it's like worth your time. It's still fine. It's still fine. I'd still say it's a good whodunit, but like,
Yeah.
It's
I mean, especially with Glass Onion on the
there.
lookout, you probably just stick with that over on Netflix at the end of the year, which I've heard so many great things about. And I'm avoiding any more trailers. That's why, like, we were aware that there's a new trailer for it out, but we're not going to watch it. I'm not going to watch it. Not going to check that out. I just want to go in as like knowing as little as possible, because it seems like it's going to be a whole bunch of fun. But if you are out looking for what to watch this week, out now in the US is Pearl, the prequel to X. The Regina King-led The Woman King, See How They Run, and God's Country. And then out September 23rd, we got Olivia Wilde's drama-filled Don't Worry Darling, where the backstory to the actual production I don't know, the reception part of it, the Venice premiere, it was such a weird vibe from people who were in who told me who were at the premiere. They said it was such a weird vibe to be in that room as well, where the whole Spitgate thing happened. It's just more fun to talk about this film outside of what it's actually about. So I can't recommend that one. A great film, one of the greatest of all time, is also getting a re-release. James Cameron's Avatar is coming back to theaters. And then finally, the David Bowie doc that premiered over at Gunn earlier this year, Moon Age Daydream, is releasing in theaters as well. Looks like it's quite a trip to, well, I guess see him perform, and using a whole bunch of archival footage. So go give that a watch. And because we won't be here next week because I'll be attending yet another film festival and usually don't have time to record here. In the US, we're also getting Bros on September 30th, a really fun comedy that premiered already earlier this month, TIFF, and got some raving reviews. I'll be checking that out. The Zurich Film Festival, and then the horror film Smile is releasing. I don't know about that one, Lachlan. I don't know if you ever talked about it on the show, if we looked at a trailer, but it's looks a bit campy, but it might be
Don't
a
worry,
fun one.
I saw it on the
Was it
trailer before the
preview?
movie today,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I was interested, and then right at the end, there's like
Yeah.
this really cheesy
Cheesy
jump
jump
scare
scare thing.
kill,
Yeah.
and I laughed very
Yeah,
hard,
me too.
and
Mhm.
immediately was like, I have to see this film.
Yeah, it made you smile, so you go watch Smile. And then finally, just because the end of September, and it just Netflix is a really stacked year until the end of it. They had like 6 movies that
Mm.
premiered at Venice, and one of those films, or 2 of those actually, Blonde and Athena, are releasing later this month, and we also getting at Kid Cudi's Intergalactic. So yeah, be on the lookout for those. If you want reviews for those, I'll have them on the Ewan Graph podcast, and once we get back in October, we'll definitely be catching up with those. So, Lachlan, coming off Bodies, do you have a pick of the week for us?
Yeah, because we already talked about it a few times, comparing it to another A24 horror film. You should go watch
Right.
X instead. X is so much more fun. It's
Yeah.
not scary, but it's not very scary. But it's way more fun of a film, and you're gonna have a way better time. Maybe it's because I have a love for old slashers, but one of my favorite horror film movies of all time is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But hey,
Yeah.
X is fun. It's enjoyable. What's your pick, Ewan?
Well, I think I'm just gonna tag along to what you said and pick the other one, a new film that's releasing now, and we won't get to talk about in detail. I'm going with Pearl, the prequel, which I wouldn't say is as much fun as X, but it is a great showcase for Mia Goth's dedication to this character. This is all I'll say. That there's a longer scene involving her on a monologue that surprisingly worked quite well. So yeah, go give that a watch if Pearl is available to you. And that brings us to the end of today's show. Next week we'll be off because I'm at the Zurich Film Festival, and then the week after we'll do a recap for the festival with Alan Muttley. He'll come into the studio. Looking forward to talking with him. It's a yearly discussion that I have. So, Lachlan, you're on a bit of a break. So you said that December's coming up. You're really busy with films to catch up with. Maybe you got some time to catch up with some films during our break.
Oh my god, I added a bajillion films to my watch list this week.
Oh god, I actually gotta check that right now. I'm curious to see what you added to your watch list. But if you want to keep up to date with us and with the Zurich Film Festival coverage, as well as some of the Venice stuff that I'm still working on, it's just a very busy time of year. Go check out the Ewan Graph YouTube channel. There will be short reviews for those films out there. You can also follow Lachlan on his socials. Those are linked below, as well as mine. And all of those for the Quiet on Set podcast as well. Then if you're here on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and maybe leave us a like. It goes a long way to help us grow the show. And Quiet on Set is powered by Cineman and hosted by myself, Ewan Graph and Lachlan Thiele. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon. I guess not next Monday. But we'll see you soon.
Arrivederci.